Hare Krishna. Can we start the recitations, please? Hare Krishna.
I'm ready, Mataji, for English translation.
Yes, and Priya Kumari Mataji is doing Sanskrit.
Yes, I was, Hare Krishna Mataji, I was asked to read text 44. Would you like me to start from 23?
Yeah, so we start from 23. It's 23 up to 44.
Okay.
Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Eko Navimisa Vimsatmi Rishu Prapaya Janmai Rama Krishnav Iti Pavo Bhagvana Arjata Param.
Hare Krishna. In the 19th and 20th incarnations, the Lord invented himself as Lord Balram and Lord Krishna in the family of Rushni, the Yadu dynasty, and by so doing, he removed the burden of the world.
Tata Kalu Samprate Samboya Surya Divasvam Buddho Namkanchana Sutta Katyesu Bhavisati.
Then in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theist. Needs to be scrolled up, Mataji.
Text 25. Ahosu Yugya Sandhyanam Dasu Prayasya Rajusu Janita Vishnu Yasoya Naman Kalkir Jagat Pat.
Thereafter, at the conjunction of two yugas, the Lord of the creation will take his birth as the Kalki incarnation and become the son of Vishnu Yasha. At that time, almost all the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers.
Text 26. Avatarahi an asan Gayaya Hare Sattva Nidra Navja Yata Vidsanak Kalya Suya Ta
O Brahmanas, the incarnations of the Lord are innumerable, like rivulets flowing from inexhaustible sources of water.
Text 27. Raso Manavo Deva Manu Putra Mahayu Jasa Kala Sarva Hare Eva Saprajapatiya Samrata.
All the rishis, manus,
free as iPhone.
demigods, and descendants of Manu, who are
Hey, come
especially
along.
powerful, are plenary
Yeah,
portions
I'm
or
not.
portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. This also includes the Prajapatis.
Text 28. Ita kamsa kalapumsa Krishna tu Bhagavan Savyam Indriyari Vadkulam Lokam Murdanti Yuge Yuge.
All the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets. Whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists, the Lord incarnates to protect the theists.
Text 29. Janma Guyam Bhagavato Ya Eta Prayota Nara Sayam Pratra Kran Bhaktaya Dukha Gramda Vim Yat Kyat.
Whoever carefully recites the mysterious appearances of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all miseries of life.
Text 30.
Already?
Etad Rupam Bhagavato Ya Arupasa Kit Atman Maya Gun Gunir Vichitam Madhe Per Atmi Nami.
The conception of the Virat universal form of the Lord as appearing in the material world is imaginary. It is to enable the less intelligent and neophytes to adjust to the idea of the Lord having a form. But factually, the Lord has no material form.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Priya,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Would
Hare
you
Krishna.
like to carry on, or would you
Sorry,
like?
yes, no problem. I'll carry on. Text 31. Yata nab yasa megaho renavo va paruvita nila evam drastari drasyatam aropitam adput hi.
Clouds and dust are carried by the air, but less intelligent persons say that sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. Similarly, they also implant material bodily conceptions on the spirit self.
Text 32. Ata param yad avyaktam avyudhyam guna pramhitam adrastu surte vastu tatv sa jivo yat punabhava.
Beyond this gross conception of form is another subtle conception of the form, which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. The living being has his form beyond this subterry, otherwise he could not have repeated births.
Hello, Mataji, are we on text 34?
33.
33,
33.
Mataji.
33, okay. Yat Rim Sada Ad Sad Rupe Isiddha Seva Sava Samvida Avidya Ya Mani Krite Iti Tad Brahma Darsanama.
Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and the subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord.
Text 34. Yadis Isumparta Devi Maya Vaisarati Mate Sampana Evati Vidur Ma Imin Sava Mahite.
If the illusory energy subsides and the living entity becomes fully enriched with knowledge by the grace of the Lord, then he becomes at once enlightened with self-realization and thus becomes situated in his own glory.
Text 35. Evam Janmani Karmani Hya Ak Karitur Ajan Asya Varnayas Yanati Sama Kavyo Veda Kuyun Hartpate.
Thus, learned men describe the births and activities of the unborn and inactive, which is undiscoverable even in the Vedic literatures. He is the Lord of the heart.
Text 36. Savya idam visvam amogya laya sarjata avyata ati na sajjate smin bhutesu kankarthi atma tantra sad varkiram jigrati sade gunsya sa.
The Lord, whose activities are always spotless, is the master of the six senses and is fully omnipotent with six opulences. He creates the manifested universes, maintains them, and annihilates them without being in the least affected. He is within every living being and is always independent.
Text 37. Nakasa kasin nipunyu datur avati jantu kumansi ute namani rupani mano vachobhi santan vato nata karam it janha.
The foolish, with a poor fund of knowledge, cannot know the transcendental nature of the forms, names, and the activities of the Lord, who is playing like an actor in a drama. Nor can they express such things, neither in their speculations nor in their words.
Text 38. Savit Veda Tatu Padvin Vinmam Prasaya Durante Viryasar Ratiya Paneyo Mayaya Santa Yantrute Bhajate Ta Bado Sarjo Gundam.
Only those who render unreserved, uninterrupted, favorable service unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who carries the wheel of the chariot in his hand, can know the creator of the universe in his full glory, power, and transcendence.
Text 39. Ita Danya Bhagavatan Dane Bante Itam Yad Vasudevaya Kila vanti sarva vat makam atma bhavam nayatra bhuve parivarte ugra.
Only by making such inquiries in this world can one be successful and be perfectly cognizant. For such inquiries invoke transcendental ecstatic love unto the personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of all the universes and guarantee 100% immunity from the dreadful repetition of birth and death.
Text 40. Idam Bhagavatam Name Puranam Brahma Sammitam Uttam Sloka Karitam Kara Bhagavana Rishi Nirsihya Lokasa Tanyam Savste Anyam Mahat.
This Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect.
Text 40. Tad idam grayam asa sutam atma vantam varam sarva vedi hatsannam saram sumudratam.
Sri Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected among the self-realized, after extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures and histories of the universe.
Text 42. Sa tu samsra yam asa maharajam praiksitam praya pravstam gangam kam praditam param sibha.
Sukdev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink.
Text 43. Krishna seva dam bhajite dharma jin adhibhim saha kalun naste trimsam esa puran odhun odita.
This Bhagavad Puran is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana.
Text 44. Tatra kir tayo vipra arse buri tejasa adham kad ya kamam tatra nivista tad anukrita so hamvasar dav isyami yathatam yatamati.
All learned Brahmanas, when Sukdev Goswami recited Srimad Bhagavatam there, in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus, by his mercy, I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him and as I have realized it. Hare Krishna. Thank you for allowing me to recite this verse today. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Apologies if I've made any mistakes in pronouncing any Sanskrit word. The second time reciting Sanskrit. Hare Krishna, Om Namo Bhakti Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhakti Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhakti Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Puja Mataji and Priya Mataji. We we will now be going straight into a very beautiful text from this chapter. My apologies for being late today. Actually, I got held up at work. So let me just share my screen. And, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so here we are, 1.3.43. Krishne swadham upagate dharma jnanadibhi saha kalo nashtadrisham esha purana arko dhunodita. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This Bhagavad Puran is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of the Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna has his eternal Dhamma, or abode where he eternally enjoys himself with his eternal associates and paraphernalia. And his eternal abode is a manifestation of his internal energy, whereas the material world is a manifestation of his external energy. When he descends to the material world, he displays himself in his internal potency, which is called Atma Maya. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he descends by his own potency, Atma Maya. His form, name, fame, paraphernalia, abode, etc. are not there for creations of matter. He descends to reclaim the fallen souls and to re-establish the codes of religion which are directly enacted by him. Except for God, no one can establish the principles of religion. Either he or suitable person empowered by him can dictate the codes of religion. Real religion means to know God, our relation with him and our duties in relation with him. Our relation with him and our duties in relation to him, and to know ultimately our destination after leaving this material body. The conditioned souls who are entrapped by the material energy hardly know all these principles of life. Most of them are like animals engaged in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. They are mostly engaged in sense enjoyment under the pretension of religiosity, knowledge, or salvation. They are still more blind in the present age of Coral or Kali Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, the population is just a royal addition of the animals. They have nothing to do with the spiritual knowledge or godly religious life. They are so blind that they cannot see anything beyond the jurisdiction of the subtle mind, intelligence, or ego, but they are very much proud of their advancement in knowledge, science, and material prosperity. They can risk their lives to become a dog or a hog just after leaving the present body, for they have completely lost sight of the ultimate aim of life. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna appeared before us just a little prior to the beginning of Kali Yuga. He returned to his eternal home practically at the commencement of Kali Yuga. While he was present, he exhibited everything by his different activities. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita specifically and eradicated all pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure from this material world, he empowered Srila Vyasadeva through Narada to compile the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And thus both the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam are like torch bearers for the blind people of this age. In other words, if men in this age of Kali want to see the real light of life, they must take to these two books only, and their aim of life will be fulfilled. Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the sum and bonum of Lord Sri Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Srimad Bhagavatam as a direct representation of Lord Krishna. One who can see Srimad Bhagavatam can see also Lord Sri Krishna in person. they are identical. I'll repeat the last line by Prabhupada. One who can see Srimad Bhagavatam can see also Lord Shri Krishna in person. They are identical. I repeat once again. One who can see Srimad Bhagavatam can see also Lord Shri Krishna in person. They are identical. What a purport and what a verse. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So I'll read the translation again, once again, for this illuminating verse by Sri Prabhupada. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. I mean, I cannot think of any other better verse and a better time and a better circumstances than the better people who are about to receive Srimad Bhagavatam. We have seen, read and heard from our own ears just now that what this Bhagavatam is about actually. So I want to focus on the purport. I haven't today I have not put down any points on the slides. So I like to discuss it with you purely because I didn't get around. I did prepare. I have my notes. However, I didn't get a chance to put them on my slides today. I had an extremely busy day at work. So firstly, here at the beginning of the purport, Prabhupada is making such a nice point that Lord Shri Krishna has his eternal dham, which is called Golok Vrindavan, where the Lord is enjoying eternally with his associates and paraphernalia. And his eternal abode is manifestation of his internal energy, whereas the material world is manifestation of his Bahiranga or the external energy. So when he descends to the material world, he displays himself as a paraphernalia in his internal potency. So what does that mean is because we have read previously that how Krishna descends out of his own will. But of course, there is a reason of his descent. The reason of the descent is more towards attracting the hearts and the minds of conditioned souls who are struggling very hard. Devi hi esha gunamayi mama maya durataya, who are struggling extremely hard in this material nature. That is the first and foremost reason of why Lord descends actually. And he descends through his internal potency, not through the external potency through which we come into the world. But the Lord comes through the internal potency. And the word Atma Maya is very important here. Prabhupada is saying, which is called, the internal potency is called Atma Maya. This is Krishna's own internal potency. And he comes through that. And then obviously his name, dham, paraphernalia, about everything descends with him. I've been recently hearing from His Grace Radhika Raman Prabhu some amazing series of lectures he has given on Srimad Bhagavatam. Particularly, there is a series lecture he's given on forgiveness, forgiving and forgiveness through Srimad Bhagavatam. And we will be requesting Prabhu to also try and touch base on that theme when he's here. And in that, he is explaining so beautifully the Lord, that how the Lord, it is actually Lord's will and Lord's desire. And he was particularly talking about a pastime where the four Kumaras, when they reached that, somebody is on not on mute, so I'm just going to mute everybody 1 second. particularly when they arrive at the doorsteps of the Vaikuntha doors, and that whole dialogue ensued. Some acharyas say that it is the Kumaras who made the offense by showing their anger towards Jay and Vijay. Some acharyas explain that it is the Jay and Vijay who committed an offense at the lotus feet of the Kumaras, not understanding and realizing their potency and how elevated they are in the spiritual understanding. However, some explain that it is neither the Kumaras nor the Jay and Vijay, but it is the Lord Himself. Through His internal potency, He decides to what is the right word? He decides to expand or taste that Veera Rasa, which is not he couldn't do it in the spiritual world. Who will he fight in the spiritual world? So he descended on the earthly planet to expand or to relish that particular Veera Rasa. But it is so beautiful that if you think about the pastime, that one may think, oh, Jay and Vijay have been punished. But look at the beautiful pastime. Jay and Vijay, what did they ask? They said, my Lord, we are happy to accept your punishment and descend in the material world so we can take part in your pastimes. But one request we have is that please let us always remember you. And look at the beautiful pastime of the Lord. Our Prabhu was saying, some of our acharya says that the way Jay and Vijay were able to remember the Lord, no, not even some of the devotees could remember, because although they were remembering in an anger, but they were always thinking of Krishna. They were always meditating on Krishna. So this is the beauty of the Lord, and I want to bring this point that it's really struck me when Prabhu was saying that, you see, sometimes our intention is correct, but our action is not correct. So can you give me an example from Srimad Bhagavatam where intention has been correct of a personality, but the action wasn't correct, but the Lord accepted the intention? Anyone? There's so many examples.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Sabribai, the old lady who was feeding Lord Sri Ram some fruit, but before feeding him, she was tasting it, and she forgot that she's actually giving him her eaten.
Yes, yeah, so that's Ramayan. Absolutely,
Ramayana.
that's a good example. And yes, there you see the intention was correct, but the action wasn't appropriate. Very nice. Thank you, Mataji. Any other examples from Bhagavatam about this?
Kangsha remember Krishna all the time, but his anger.
No, Mataji,
not
that way, that is also, his intention wasn't right, because his intention was against him. So that may not be the appropriate example in this connection. But there are a few more. Let's see who can recall.
Yashoda Maya putting Krishna down to save the milk.
Well done. So you see, Mother Yashoda putting Krishna, her intention was correct, but her action wasn't very appropriate, taken by Krishna. Very nice example. Well done, Shadish Prabhu. Now,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
yes, Sundari Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, Vidur's wife feeding Krishna the skin
Banana
of
peels.
banana.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful.
Banana.
Very nice. Now let's reverse the position and let me ask you the question. Tell me of a time where the intention was wrong, but the action was correct.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it is
Yes.
Putana's intention was wrong, but she wanted to feed the baby.
Correct. So that's a very good example. That's probably the best example from Bhagavatam, where her intention was wrong, but her action was correct. And Krishna says, she's come to me as a mother. I accept you, and I reward you the highest stage of benediction or mukti to become one of the dadris, or of the level of the mother in the spiritual world. Now, just imagine how merciful the Lord is. Both way he's reciprocating. But here's the best part. Your action is wrong, your intention is wrong, and the Lord still accepts it. Ask me how.
Is it Hiranyakashipu?
Yeah, so that's perfect example. So that's one example. But if you look at our daily life, if you from Bhagavatam, that's a good example, Bhagavati Mataji. But let's look at us. Our action, we've got our bead bag. Our hand is there in the bead bag. You know, we are trying to chant the holy name, but our mind is wandering everywhere. So that is part of our action, right? And our intention is not there because the mind is also not there. So in some way or other, our action may be there. Okay, we are chanting somehow, but I don't know how we are chanting. But even then, the Lord is reciprocating. How is He reciprocating? He's trying to bring us closer to those who have taste of the holy name, and then eventually come to the stage where we are not going to make the offenses towards the holy name. So this is our Bhavagahi Janardana Lord, who actually He's so merciful. Like Mataji gave an example of Hiranyakashipu. Actions are wrong, intentions are wrong. The Lord is accepting it. Why? Because they are, of course, I mean, one can look at Jai and Vijay. So this is the point. You see, the Lord is so merciful. And then later on, Prabhupada explains that people are mostly engaged in sense enjoyment under the pretension of religiosity, knowledge, or salvation. They're still more blind in the present age of Coral and Kali Yuga, where the population is just a royal addition of animals. So if you see, or if we consider ourselves doing the same thing the dog is doing on the street, like sleeping, mating, fearing, and defending, if we do it in the closed doors, Prabhupada is calling us a civilized animal. That is the only difference. But the word animal is still attached as a preface to our life, which is very unfortunate situation. So we don't want to be blind. And that's why Krishna, he appears before us just like prior to the beginning of Kali Yuga, who was the personality who went to Krishna to ask some of the question, and this personality asked him, what will happen to the religious principles now that you have decided to go back to your abode, my lord? Who was that personality?
Uddhav.
Uddhava, well done, Hema Mataji. So it is Uddhava who went to the Lord and said, my Lord, I'm really concerned. And this is why you see the word compassion, this is the real essence of our Krishna consciousness life. That Prabhupada said we have to be careful of the misplaced compassion. Uddhava was so genuinely compassionate for the devotees or the people who, how will they derive the benefit? The only way they can derive the benefit is through Srimad Bhagavatam, ladies and gentlemen. There is no other way. These two books, Prabhupada is saying, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, they are the essence, they are the sar of all the sars actually. And that's why Krishna exhibited all beautiful activities, and specifically Prabhupada is saying to eradicate all pretentious principles. What does Bhagavatam says right at the outset? Dharma projita kaitvo traparamo nirmatsaranam satam. Right at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Krishna is saying, Sukhdev Goswami is saying, or Acharyas are explaining that all the cheating religions are put aside. Now we're only going to talk about love. I love you and you love me. There is no this thing that I will go to Mangalwar, Hanumanji, I will put Bundi Prasadam. All I need is just number one place in my college or university. There is no business happening in Bhagavatam of that sort. Bhagavatam is completely saying, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. If if you were looking for pure devotional service, then approach me. Now the concluding message is so strong, and I have this beautiful video of 5 minutes I want to share with all of you from this devotee from Chopati. Let's see if I can find the video. Yes, I have the video. So please pay attention to this beautiful video, and then we're gonna have a couple more points I'm gonna make, and then we will take some reflections. Where's the video gone? Okay, one second. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Bored along with all this. So Krishna was thinking that all these qualities have now disappeared from this place, and because Krishna was there, so Kali Yuga was not coming. So now Krishna had disappeared. Kali Yuga started flourishing. Krishna started thinking, how will the people of Kali Yuga get benefited? How will they get delivered? So in the third canto, we hear that when Vidura, he asked Uddhava, because Vidura was traveling on pilgrimage place after he was insulted by Duryodhan. So he reached Vrindavan, And on the bank of Yamuna, he met Uddhava. And he asked Uddhava about Krishna, Balram, all the Yadus and all the other relatives. And Vidura and Uddhava, as soon as he heard about Krishna, he went into ecstasy, closed his eyes. For one whole muhurta, he was in ecstasy, 48 minutes. Tears were coming out of his eyes. And then somehow he came out of that ecstatic state, trance state, and he spoke. Krishne Dyumani Nimiloche Girneshu Ajagarenaha Kim Nuna Kushalam Bruyam Gatashrishu Griheshwaham. Krishna sun has set. Krishna Dyumani. The Krishna sun has set. After Krishna sun has set, it is like Girneshu Ajgarenaha. Our house has been swallowed by the serpent of time. So what can we speak about our welfare? If Krishna has gone, nothing good fortune is remaining in our house. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur describes that Krishna is like the sun, Mathura is like the sunrise mountain, Prabhas is the sunset mountain, and the righteous persons, they are like Chakravaka birds who become very happy when sun rises, and all the evil persons, they are like the fog which covers the darkness when the sun sets, covers everything. And the devotees, they are like the grove of lotuses, which also closes when the sun sets. But although the Krishna sun has set, but Bhagavatam has risen, which is corresponding to the sun, Purana Arka. So therefore, when Krishna disappeared, he was thinking, because people of Kali Yuga, Prayan, Alpayasha, Sabhya, they have all no good qualities, Manda Sumanda Matayo, Bhautikanam cha Bhavanam Shakti Rasam cha Tatkritam. Everything was getting destroyed in Kali Yuga. They had no intelligence. People of Kali Yuga cannot remember anything, cannot live a sattvic life. So to show mercy to Kali Yuga people, Krishna appeared as Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada has given such a wonderful treasure in the form of the whole Bhagavatam. He has spent sleepless nights translating the purports. As Prabhupada said, these are my devotional ecstasies. We cannot even repay the debt. We cannot even think of repaying the debt. As Bhagavatam says, anybody who thinks like that, he becomes a joker. He becomes a Vinoda Patram. So Vaikuntanath Prabhu, he recalls that in 1972, Prabhupada was in Vrindavan giving Nectar of Devotion lectures. And devotees were distributing books. So Vaikuntanath Prabhu, he thought that because he was taught that unless you are connected to Guru Parampara through initiation, you cannot go back to the spiritual world. So this devotee was thinking that we are distributing books, but these people, they are not getting initiated, so they cannot go back home, back to Godhead. So he was thinking like that. So one day, as Srila Prabhupada was entering the Radha Damodar temple to give the class, so Vaikuntanath Prabhu, he asked, Prabhupada, we are distributing so many books, but if people are not getting initiated, then how they will go back home, back to Godhead? So Prabhupada looked directly into the eyes of Vaikuntanath Prabhu and said, just by reading my books, they are initiated. So that is the mercy of Prabhupada. That is an incredible compassion which he is showing. Just by reading the books of Prabhupada, one gets connected to the Guru Shishya Parampara. And that's how a jiva, after falling in this material world, getting covered by the various layers of ignorance, and the original knowledge gets completely covered. Jivera Swarupa Hoye Krishnera Nityadas completely gets covered. And whatever we may try, time can destroy everything, but time cannot destroy ignorance. As Gajendra says, Jiji Vishena Hamiha Moyakim Antar Bahischavritaye Bhayoniya Ichchami Kale Nayatra Viplavas Tasyatma Loka Varnayasya Moksham. So Gajendra is saying, after, in the beginning of the prayers, he was praying, oh Lord, please relieve me from this crocodile. But then he came out of all that consciousness. And then he started praying, "Oh my Lord, I don't want to get relieved from this clutches of crocodile. You know, because I am in this body of elephant covered by ignorance. Antar bahischa vrita ye bhayonya. Inside also I am covered and outside also I am covered by ignorance. Ichhami kalena nayatra viplavas. In due course of time, everything gets destroyed. But ignorance does not get destroyed. So please relieve that ignorance, remove the ignorance which is there in the heart. And Srimad Bhagavatam has the power to cut off the toughest element in the creation, that is a false ego, that is the ignorance. You know, that is the biggest layer covering this universe. So that's why Krishna has appeared in the form of this Bhagavatam.
I don't think I could have found a better ending to this particular talk. What I could speak in 20 minutes, Prabhuji has just mentioned directly in 6 minutes of his talk that we actually have no idea what has landed in our hand. I mean, even the word good fortune is short enough to explain what has just happened few years ago with all of us. Prabhupada is saying we must therefore accept Srimad Bhagavatam as a direct representation of Lord Krishna. Not only that, Prabhupada is saying one who can see the Srimad Bhagavatam can see also Lord Krishna in person, they are identical. So, dear friends, I beg at your feet, all of you, there are 52 devotees on the call. I beg all of you, because you have already embraced Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore you are already worshipable. So I offer my obeisances at the lotus feet of all the Vaishnavas, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bevacha, Patita Nam Pavne Bhyo Vaishnave Bhyo Namo Namah. So I beg by offering my obeisances again and again to you that now that what has come into our hands, let's make some effort to try and share this wisdom of Bhagavatam. Let the Bhagavatam go viral as much as possible. So my request is that I'm going to do a 5-minute exercise with all of you. So stay tuned. It's a very nice exercise. You will feel connected to Prabhupada. You will feel connected to the parampara. Just imagine what Prabhu said. You know, look at the compassionate heart of Vaikuntha Prabhu. Only people who are initiated in the Guru Parampara will be able to go back. Prabhupada is saying just by, and it has such a significance what Prabhupada said. Why? Because when they're reading Prabhupada books, they are directly connecting with our acharyas. Such a strong connection is there. They are directly connecting with our Guru Parampara. So sooner or later, they will land up at a Vaishnava's lotus feet to take shelter, take initiation. Everything will happen. So I can't even begin to explain how pleased Krishna is. It's very subtle, dear devotees. Please try to understand. Every minute of your day which you dedicate to read Bhagavatam or writing some notes about how you can convince others in taking Srimad Bhagavatam is 10, at least 1 million times more dear to Krishna than your that little activity you're doing, and you're thinking it is small. Please don't. Because Krishna is sitting in the spiritual world, but at the same time he's sitting in our hearts and thinking, look at this jiva. Krishne swadham upgate dharma jnana di saha kalo nashta drisham esha purana arko dhunudita. Krishna is saying that I told the people in the Kali Yuga before I left, here we go, Dava, here is Bhagavatam. And look at these devotees, they are actually making an effort to make this Bhagavatam available to others and read and perfect their life. So now if you have a pen and paper or a phone, which you probably all do, please take it over. For 5 minutes, we're going to do this exercise, just for 5 minutes. And let's see how much joy we get out of this exercise of Srila Prabhupada. It just came spontaneously to me in my mind as I watched Prabhu's talk. It wasn't in my thought to do this, but let's do it. And my request is, so I guess I'm going to give 30 seconds for everybody to get a pen and paper or a mobile phone or a laptop where you can make notes. Ideally, a phone will be very helpful if you have the phone with you. Okay. Before we do the exercise, here is my question. And this is not something you have to answer. This is something you have to look inside and answer it to yourself. How many times in a day, or how much time in a day do we spend on the phone looking at Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube videos, and the small tiny videos which YouTube makes or the Facebook makes to distract our attention and take it away from Krishna? That's the first question I want to ask all of you. The second question I want to ask all of you is, how much time do we use with our phone to look at the friends on the phone who are bereft of Srimad Bhagavatam, bereft of Krishna consciousness, that how can I actually reach out to them and share this wonderful literature, or at least try to glorify this literature, let alone forget about them taking the Bhagavatam. Let me glorify Bhagavatam and tell them about Bhagavatam, because my purification will take place. That's my second question. So this exercise is based on the second question. So the exercise is this, that I want you to take 5 minutes and look at your WhatsApp or a contact list and try to come up. I'm sure, let's try to come up with at least 3 to 5 names. Let's see how many you're able to come on your phone list, where you feel that, okay, these are the people who do not know anything about Bhagavatam. Let me make some tiny effort to try and reach out. I'm not even going to ask you to make that effort right now. I'm just simply asking you. So do not overthink the exercise. Just think, out of the phone book, which has 200, 300, or 800 contacts, 5 people on my phone book, on my friend list, who do not know anything about Bhagavatam. So the exercise starts now. I'm going to put a 5-minute timer on the phone, and I'm going to do the same. And we're going to take 5 minutes on our phone book to do this exercise. And at the count of 1, 2, 3, the counter starts for 5 minutes. So let's start. The timer has started. Just 5 minutes looking at our contact, writing the name of the person on a piece of paper and the contact number. Just for 5 minutes. Okay, 1 minute left, dear devotees. And I'm so happy to see all 51 of you are here. Okay, 10 seconds left, devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Time's up. Great. So now, first of all, I'm extremely grateful to all of you. And trust me, take it from me, that little exercise of 5 minutes of meditation has purely gone in trying to develop compassion, which is a genuine quality for a devotee who's trying to practice Krishna consciousness. And he or she is thinking of how I can benefit others, as we just heard from Prabhuji directly. So now, all I'm going to ask you to do is, how many of you were able to, just in the chat box, you can just tell me how many names were you able to come up with? Just very quickly, and just say, yes, I did the exercise, and these many names, even if it is one name, or even if it was no name, it's fine. Just put in the chat box, say, yes, I was able to come up with one. You don't need to give me the contact details or anything. Just say yes, and how many names were you able to come up with in your friend list, in your contacts on the phone, who probably doesn't have Bhagavatam. Just very quickly, if you can all put it in the chat box, it will take you literally 10 seconds. Yashwini Mataji came up with 5. Oh my God. Pooja Mataji came up with 13 contacts. Saroj Mataji came up with 14. Namrata Mataji came up with 15. KP Prabhu 3. Geeta Gamya 1 name, 1 group. My God. Indra Mataji came up with 5. Chaya Mataji came up with 8. Pushpa Mataji came up with 7. Manmohini Mataji came up with 10 names. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh Krishna Chaitanya. Venkat Prabhu came up with 1. Fantastic. Okay, looks like you all have the list. So this is my second request to you. You don't need to do anything. Please, if those who have not had a chance to finish going through all your contacts, that's my humble request to you. Please do that exercise, if possible, tonight while it is free. Prema Vilasini Mataji came up with 5. Shipra Mataji came up with 6. And Pushpa Mataji, Manmohini Mataji, 10. Oh, Krishna Chaitanya. And Chaitanya Charindra Prabhu also came up with 6. So collectively together they came up with 11 contacts. Okay, great. So now what I would like you to do is something which I've heard from some devotees. Devotees don't like, I mean, this Prabhu or Mataji doesn't like me to take her name so often, or his name. So what I would like you to do is, for the next 7 days until we meet again on Tuesday, I simply want you to write their names, contact number, and when you chant the holy name, just put those names in the altar, next to your altar, do an achman, put that piece of paper in your altar, to your deities, to the picture of Radha Gokulananda, and before you begin your chanting, just say that, my dear lordships, please help me to pay attention to the holy name and hear the holy name peacefully. And I'm offering you these names, and I'm begging for your strength, that after a week of offering these names every day and chanting in front of them, give me the strength to reach out to these people, to try and tell them a little bit about Srimad Bhagavatam. That is all I'm asking you to do. Do you think, is that something you all can do? And I'll tell you what will come after that. So in the first instance, if you can please say to the chat box, yes, you can do this. You can write the name on a piece of paper, pray to Srila Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and your deities, and you can offer this list every day for the next, till Tuesday. It is Tuesday evening until we meet again. And you can pray for the strength and for these people, that let them come closer to Srimad Bhagavatam. So are you able to do this? Hema Mataji thinks it's a brilliant idea, although I do think she's already tried this idea. Okay, Pooja Mataji, Saroj Mataji, Yashwani Mataji, they all think it is possible, they can do it. Trust me, you're making an offering to Krishna, trying to bring these souls deliberately closer to Krishna. If not anything else, let that offering in itself be the result and the goal of our exercise of what we are trying to do. Bhagwati Mataji is saying, wonderful, it is possible. Geeta Gamaya Mataji is saying, yes, I can try to do it. This is very, very encouraging for me. I'm going to try to do it as well. So every day, take this piece of paper, before you chant, offer it to the Lord and pray for their welfare in Krishna consciousness. And when we meet on Tuesday, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some guidelines with you. I'm going to share some ideas with you on how you can tell them about Bhagavatam. And if you cannot directly tell them, you can just invite them to attend one of the presentations, which either myself or Vrindavan Chand Prabhu is going to do it for them, for your friends and family. You can invite them for that. That I think is very, very easy to do. So is that okay with everybody? Does that sound like a good idea? All you have to do is come up with a list if you haven't finished yet. Put the numbers on it. Write a little message from you that I'm going to try and reach out to these people, but before that I'm praying for some empowerment and strength. Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha Gokulananda and Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman and Gaurnitai. You just beg for that prayer, chant every day, and Tuesday we will meet again to conclude this exercise where I'll share some tips. Quite a few are abroad, no problem, Mataji. We keep praying. Let them be abroad. They will come one day. We all have come. Actually, Mahaprabhu tells us we all have been coming from abroad. He said, Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev. We've been coming from various other Brahmans as well, various other universes. So it's okay, let them be far. You still pray for them that Bhagavatam becomes close to them somehow or other. And you contact them when they're back, Puja Mataji. Don't worry. Find more people who are on your list. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Okay, Neela Vasana Madhavi Mataji said, yes, Prabhu, she's going to give it a try. Well done, Mataji. I'm very grateful to you. So many new names have come up. Shabani Mataji, Girish Prabhu, you're going to try. Have you come up with a list as well?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Priyanka Mataji, Mitali Mataji, others, everybody on the call, please, that's my request. And there is no pressure. We're going to make it very inspirational, very meditative, and in a very prayerful mood. And we leave the outcome to Krishna. We're just going to give it a try. And what happens when we give it a try? We heard from Prabhu, right? You're doing the biggest, the best welfare activity of all the activities. So now it is 8:35, 8:49. I'm sorry, there is not much time left for questions or reflection. This exercise came spontaneously in my mind. So I like to finish this exercise with all of you on next Tuesday when we meet together at for chat at 7:45 after our session.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Sundari Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Just very quick question. How do we present, like how do we word it? How do we send the message?
So Sundari Mataji, I will give the wordings. I will give you some ideas. Everything will be revealed to you on Tuesday. All I'm saying, I know how much you are eager to actually now knock the doors and call the people. Don't do it. All I'm saying is just pray for empowerment from Mahaprabhu. That's all we're going to do this week. But after the week, we're going to go. I'll share the hints. I'll share the ideas. And we will have a slightly longer session. Let's see if I can start at 7:30. So we can have half an hour dedicated for this service to Srila Prabhupada as an offering from all of the chat members actually. We'll make it a special session on next Tuesday evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sundari Mataji. Thanks for trying. Really, all we can do is try, devotees, and in the process of trying, we become dear to Srila Prabhupada. Shipra Mataji is going to give it a try. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, dear devotees, thank you for joining me for this beautiful verse. What a nice meditation to leave with. Something practical we're going to try and do from the words of Srila Prabhupada. And rest assured, the success will come in the form of purification first and foremost because of the activity we are doing. Everything else is a bonus. If somebody gets the Bhagavatam, doesn't get the they get to hear, everything is auspicious around it actually. So thank you all for joining me this evening, and please look after yourself. Have a wonderful evening, and see you all next Tuesday. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavane Prabhupada ki
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank
Wonderful.
you, Bhagavati Mataji. Thank you so much.
Prabhu. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.